The German invasion of Poland on September 1, 1939, marked the beginning of World War II. What started as a regional conflict between neighboring states would rapidly expand into a global catastrophe that would claim millions of lives and reshape the political order of Europe. Poland's borders had been established relatively recently. The Polish Second Republic declared independence in 1918, with western borders established by the Treaty of Versailles, though violent clashes in former German regions continued until 1921. Eastern borders were formalized after a bitter war against Soviet Russia that also concluded in 1921. However, neither Germany nor the Soviet Union accepted this new order. Both regimes viewed the Polish state as an illegitimate creation of the Versailles system and maintained territorial claims on Polish lands. Despite this underlying tension, Warsaw pursued a policy of balance, signing non-aggression pacts with Moscow in 1932 and Berlin in 1934. This fragile equilibrium masked the true intentions of Poland's powerful neighbors. Adolf Hitler had long advocated for eastward expansion to gain Lebensraum for the German people, and many Germans sought to recover territories ceded to Poland in 1919. Soviet leader Joseph Stalin's exact motivations remain debated by historians, whether he sought to reconquer lands of the Tsarist Empire, extend Soviet borders westward as a security buffer, or simply seize any available territory. Regardless, the Soviet regime viewed Poles as enemies and specifically targeted ethnic Poles during the Great Terror of 1937-1938. In 1938, Nazi Germany annexed part of Czechoslovakia following the Munich Agreement. Poland also seized a small piece of Czechoslovak territory with German consent. After Munich, Germany turned its attention toward Poland. German Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop demanded a solution to what Berlin called the German-Polish question, including German claims on the free city of Danzig, formerly part of Germany but under League of Nations oversight and Polish administration. Germany also accused Poland of disrupting agreed-upon German access to East Prussia, while local German Nazis in Danzig caused civil unrest. Poland's semi-authoritarian government, led by Prime Minister Felician Składkowski, looked to France and Britain for support. Britain and France promised to support Poland if Germany attacked, and on August 25, 1939, Britain and Poland entered into a formal military alliance. Polish military commander Marshal Edward Rydz-Śmigły remained defiant, declaring Poland's willingness to fight for independence over Danzig, even if it meant fighting alone. Hitler doubted Britain and France would honor their commitments but wanted to avoid a two-front war. The solution came through an unexpected agreement with ideological enemies. On August 23, 1939, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union shocked Europe by signing a non-aggression pact, known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. A secret protocol divided Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Germany would control former Czechoslovakia, Western Poland, and Lithuania, while the USSR gained free rein in Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Eastern Poland, and Bessarabia. In late August, Germans staged false flag incidents along the border to provide a pretext for invasion, most notably the Gleiwitz incident of August 31st, where SS men dressed in Polish uniforms attacked a German radio station. Several concentration camp prisoners were murdered and photographed in Polish uniforms as supposed evidence of Polish aggression. At 4:43 a.m. on September 1, 1939, the German battleship Schleswig-Holstein, which had arrived in Danzig ostensibly for a friendship visit, opened fire on the Polish garrison at Westerplatte. This marked the beginning of World War II. Hitler falsely claimed that Poland had attacked Germany and that German forces were merely returning fire. German forces implemented Case White, their invasion plan. Germany deployed 60 divisions and nearly 1.5 million men, supported by more than 2,000 tanks and nearly 900 bombers and over 400 fighter planes. Two German armies moved to close the Danzig corridor and advance south from East Prussia toward Warsaw, while three southern armies pushed north toward the capital and east toward Lwów. The German-aligned Slovak state allowed German troops to use its territory and contributed 3 divisions. Poland fielded approximately 1 million troops in 38 infantry divisions, 1 motorized brigade, and 11 cavalry brigades, with about 1,100 armored vehicles, nearly all outdated models. Poland's air force had about 750 older aircraft, and the country lacked adequate anti-tank weapons. At British and French urging, Poland had delayed full mobilization to avoid provoking Germany, meaning only about half of Polish units were in their assigned positions by September 1st. Polish commanders faced impossible choices. Concentrating forces risked leaving valuable territory undefended, while defending the entire border meant spreading forces too thin. They opted for an all-round defense, hoping to resist long enough for their French allies to launch their promised offensive within 15 days of French mobilization. German armored and motorized divisions advanced rapidly, supported by Luftwaffe aircraft like the U-87 Stuka, dive bomber that attacked Polish positions, logistics, and communications. German bombers also targeted Polish cities to terrorize civilians. Despite quick German breakthroughs, many Polish units resisted fiercely. At Mokra, a Polish cavalry division held up German tanks. The persistent myth of Polish cavalry charging German tanks arose from a single incident at Krojanty, where German tanks surprised Polish lancers advancing to attack German infantry. Italian and German war correspondents dramatized this into propaganda portraying supposed Polish fanaticism. On September 3rd, Britain and France declared war on Germany. Many Poles celebrated, believing salvation had arrived. However, the promised French offensive would not materialize as expected. German forces took Krakow without a fight on September 6th and reached Warsaw's outskirts by September 8th, though Polish defenders prevented entry. On September 9th, Polish forces launched a major counterattack at the Battle of the Bzura, attempting to break the encirclement of Warsaw. Though the Poles enjoyed limited tactical success from September 9-15th, at the Bzura River, relentless German pressure on the ground and from the air reduced the pocket within about a week. By September 15th, German forces had surrounded Warsaw. On September 17, 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Poland from the east, 16 days after the German invasion began. Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov declared that the Polish government had ceased to exist, justifying the invasion as necessary to protect Ukrainian and Belarusian populations. In reality, both the Polish government and army still existed and were resisting. The Red Army deployed over 600,000 troops with 4,700 tanks and 3,300 combat aircraft. Facing them were approximately 350,000 Polish troops, many unarmed reservists with few heavy weapons. Some Poles initially wondered if the Soviets were coming to help fight the Germans. Some local populations, particularly Ukrainians, Belarusians, and Jews, welcomed the Soviets, hoping for better treatment than under Polish authorities. Fighting was limited, though Polish troops defended Grodno for 2 days and resisted at Lwow. On September 22nd, German and Soviet troops held a joint parade in Brest-Litovsk, complete with victory arches decorated with swastikas and red stars, observed by Generals Heinz Guderian and Semyon Krivoshein. London and Paris were appalled, but felt unable to risk war with the USSR while already fighting Germany. As German and Soviet forces occupied Poland, Warsaw endured brutal bombardment. On September 25th, the Luftwaffe conducted what was then the largest air raid in history, with bombers dropping 560 tons of high-explosive bombs and 72 tons of incendiary bombs. The bombing destroyed water infrastructure, leaving residents unable to fight the resulting fires. Around 18,000 civilians perished during the siege, with 10% of Warsaw's buildings entirely destroyed and 40% heavily damaged. Warsaw Mayor Stefan Starzyński broadcast desperate appeals to Britain and France, demanding revenge for the destruction. By September 26th, water shortages and the hopeless military situation forced surrender. Warsaw capitulated on September 28th with approximately 140,000 Polish troops taken as prisoners of war. Modlin Fortress soon surrendered, and the pocket at Koch held out until October 6th, marking the end of organized Polish resistance. German losses totaled about 14,000 dead or missing and 30,000 wounded, with 217 tanks lost, nearly 10% of those deployed. The Red Army lost approximately 750 dead and 1,800 wounded. Polish losses were far higher, between 70,000 and 120,000 military dead, 130,000 wounded, 700,000 taken prisoner by Germans, and 220,000 by Soviets. Between 100,000 and 200,000 Polish civilians were killed during the campaign. Germany and the Soviet Union modified their zones of control. Germany received more Polish territory and raw materials for war with France and Britain, while the Soviet Union incorporated Lithuania into its sphere of influence. Between 80,000 and 200,000 Polish troops escaped to neutral countries. From the campaign's beginning, both occupiers imposed terror. The Nazis considered Slavic Poles and Polish Jews, 10% of the population, as subhumans to be enslaved, killed, or expelled. SS commander Reinhard Heydrich ordered the immediate execution of Polish elites, nobles, priests, and Jews. Special Einsatzgruppen targeted Polish Jews and intellectuals for mass executions. Regular Wehrmacht units also killed prisoners and civilians. At Częstochowa, troops massacred approximately 1,000 civilians, including 150 Jews. Overall, Germans executed 12,000 to 15,000 Poles during the 5-week campaign, not including civilian bombing victims. On October 4th, Hitler announced an amnesty for all Germans who committed war crimes in Poland. The Soviets similarly targeted Polish community leaders, officers, businessmen, wealthy farmers, landowners, and civil servants for execution or deportation to camps. After the battles of Grodno and Lwów, Soviet troops executed several hundred Polish defenders. The speed of the German victory contributed to the myth of blitzkrieg as a deliberate doctrine, though German high command actually felt rushed into war before being fully prepared and judged their performance insufficient for war with Britain and France. As much as Poland's people suffered during the dual invasion, the horrors of occupation, under both German and Soviet control, would bring far worse atrocities in the years to come. The September campaign of 1939 was merely the opening act of a devastating conflict that would consume Europe and the world.